Okay, for a long time, brands and marketing have been talking about brand storytelling, but that's all it's been, is talking. Because brands and marketing are actually really crap at storytelling. And I created Narrativity so you could be a hell of a lot better. Because there's real power in telling stories. Because we as humans love them. It's inbuilt in our human DNA. Ever since cavemen sat around the campfire telling stories of how they escaped the saber-toothed tiger or killed the woolly mammoth, we have been hooked. Looking at that photo quite large, I don't know if they're cavemen or the Taliban. I might have to check that later. But it doesn't matter. The Taliban love stories. Caveman loves stories. We love stories. Every generation loves stories, and there's a scientific reason why. Every time we hear a story, we get a dopamine hit. And we know how powerful dopamine hits are. And it's why we remember stories so well. And we're addicted to them. There's a really beautiful thing that happens called neurocoupling. That the receiver of a story takes that story and uses it as their own. Like if I tell you a story today, a great story, you'll go back and tell your partner and tell this story, and it's your story. So it's a really beautiful thing, and for brands to have your customers telling your story to everyone else, you want to tap into neurocoupling. There's another really cool thing, which is mirroring. When someone tells a story, everyone in the room, it triggers the same effect in their brain. So we all are feeling the same thing at the same time, and it creates alignment and connection. Again, really important for brands. And most importantly, stories trigger all 4 parts of the brain, all 4 cortexes. If you tell a story with just facts and figures, it will trigger 2 parts of the brain. And it's why messages told with stories are 22 times more memorable than those just with facts and figures. Sorry, do you want to? Anyway, all through history, and it doesn't matter whether it's religion, the arts, politics, entertainment, or business, the best storytellers in the world are the ones who change the world, control the world, and most importantly, succeed in the world. But most brands don't use storytelling, and if they do, or say they're doing it, they're not actually doing it very well. And these are the 3 biggest mistakes that brands make. One is you're far too rational. All those proof points and product benefits that the business thinks is very important, people don't. If you tell rational messages, you're only triggering the rational part of the brain. And we don't make decisions on the rational part of the brain. We make decisions on the emotional part of the brain. You don't mean to do it, but you're conforming to the conventions of the category. I would bet that most people in this room are conforming to the conventions of the category they are in. And we don't mean to do it. What happens is, over years and years of reading things from an insurance company, if you're working on an insurance brand, whoever's writing it sits down and the subconscious takes over and goes, this is how you write like an insurance brand. And you write it and you show everyone else in the company and they go, that sounds right. And all you're doing is reinforcing the conventions of the category. And my number one job for my clients is stop them conforming to the conventions of the category. I told some people I spoke to before, I start every session with, these words and phrases are banned. And everyone falls off their chairs and what do you mean? That's what we use. I went, so does your competitors. You're not going to stand out if you continue to conform to the conventions of the category. And I'm sorry, but you are not the hero. Every business thinks they're great, and they are. But just going out and saying you're great isn't going to work, because the person you're talking to is the hero of their life. You just have to be the wise guy that comes along a third of the way through the movie to help the hero achieve their quest, and then you become invaluable to them. So stop telling the story you want to tell and start telling the one your audience wants to hear. It's a big flip, and most companies don't do this, but it really pays off. I've just come from South by Southwest in Austin. I go every couple of years. It's amazing. I've created a report. If you want to scan that QR code, you will get the report. Of course, AI was the number one topic. And so in the report, you'll see a lot on how AI relates to marketing. But what was really reassuring and pleasing for me was the second biggest topic was storytelling. 10% of all the talks at South by Southwest were on some kind of storytelling. It's still huge. And I actually created Narrativity when 8 years ago I went to South by Southwest, and there was storytelling was brand new, and there was many, many talks on it. And I left there in the plane going, everyone told me why brands should become better storytellers, but no one said how. And I thought, that's what I'm going to do. So I was living in Hollywood, or I was living in LA, and I was driving down Sunset Boulevard, and I looked up at the Hollywood sign and went, hell, that is the how. Hollywood uses very successful formulas to create movies to hook us in. Every movie is built on a formula, and that city is built on movies. So movies are the most financially successful storytellers of all time. Studios put a lot of money in, they have to have a return on investment, they have to ensure that it works. So they use formulas to hook us in, and they're really powerful. And so I thought that is the how. I'm going to take the formulas movies use to hook us in and translate them for brands. For generations, we have loved movies because a hero has a quest that we want to see. And this is the hero's journey formula. Every movie uses this. A hero is in their ordinary world. They're called on an adventure, on a quest that's too scary, so they don't want to go on it. And then they meet a mentor who convinces them to follow that journey, cross the threshold from their ordinary world into a special world where all kinds of shit happens to them until they come back, happy ending. Now, you don't feel that formula, but it exists in every single film, and it's there to make sure the film has highs and lows and keeps us hooked in. So I've looked at what all the tricks movies use, and there on the left is all the things I do for my client, and they're the things that movies use to write the film, to sell the film, and keep us engaged while we're watching the film. On the right is all the ways I've translated them for you, for brands. And they're things that you use. These are usable outputs that are there to strategically define the brand, but create real messages and stories that you can use across your website, video, social media. And one big difference is I don't take a brief and come away weeks and months later and tell you what I think you should do. We spend a day together with the key stakeholders in the business, and we create it together. They love it because they're involved, but it means that you have everyone in the business has total ownership of it, and they buy into it. So it makes your life a hell of a lot easier. And half these outputs we come up with together in that room. And I don't move on until I get a hell yeah, and everyone is really excited. And then the other half you give me the inputs for, and 3 days later, it's all done. All of that's done in 4 days. These are some of my clients I've worked with. There's some big brands, and they're from all over the world. But big, small, medium companies, I work with them all. It's a set output, it's a set price. But one thing is they're all succeeding because they're telling a far stronger, engaging, and emotive story. I'm going to show you a couple to give you an idea. The first one is genre. And the reason I start with genre is the movies start with genre. A writer doesn't put one word down on a page until they first decide, what genre do I want this movie to be? Now, we've got to understand genre very well through Netflix. Netflix categorizes everything via genre, and the reason they do that is because we actually don't know what we want to watch. So when we sit down, we go, what do I feel like? Do I want a drama? Do I want a comedy? And that is the power of a brand defining their genre, which brands never do. Because genre brings the audience closer to what they desire. In marketing, we never do this phrase. We just jump to the story we want to tell. And we don't lay the groundwork for the kind of story we want to tell. And these are all the different genres that exist in the world. And what's in blue is not important because you don't want to be a war, you don't want to be a horror, and you don't want to be an adult. Maybe you want to be an adult, I don't know. But you do want to become about defeating the enemy, overcoming obstacles, or sexy and exciting. So I work with my clients and go, what genre, what kind of story do you want to tell? This is not a message, it's just defining the kind of story you want to tell. And based on what the brand is currently telling them, before the session I go, this is the genre you are currently telling. And 100% of the time, after 8 years, I've got it wrong. Because they think they're telling one story, but I go, well, this is the story you're actually telling. So if you don't define it first, everyone across the business, and then different people come in and out, they're going to start telling the wrong story. I'm going to give you a really good example. Hyperloop, for those of you who don't know Hyperloop, it was an idea many years ago Elon Musk came up with before he went totally crazy. And he was too busy, so he gave it to the world. He said, this is great, I'm too busy, who wants to do it? And 3 companies, including Virgin, said, we're going to do it. And basically, Hyperloop is the first new form of mass transportation in a century. And it's a tube about as long as this room, and magnetic fields throw this thing down at record speed. So LA to San Francisco would be half an hour. It's pretty amazing. So I thought, and based on what they were saying, there is no client in the world that wouldn't be more sci-fi, the future is here, than Hyperloop. And they said, yes, you're right, that's the story we're telling, but this is our biggest problem. Everyone knows it's the future, they're excited about it, but they think it's the future and 30, 40, 50 years down the track. We need billions of investment now, and we need billions of contracts awarded from governments. That story is actually our problem. So they chose the last story I'd ever think they'd tell, which is historical. But when you think about it, it makes sense. You don't make a film unless it's amazing, but it can't be historical unless it's true. And when they told me that, I went, oh, I get it. You want to say this is real, this is happening. So these were the messages I wrote. This crazy pipe dream is real. The world can't wait any longer. Barriers are meant to be broken. Welcome to a frictionless world. We're moving the world faster forward. Get on board. Can you see I don't use the word future? It's coming. This is happening, and it's really exciting. Within a year of telling this new story, they got the billions of dollars of investment, and 2 years later, the other 2 competitors have folded. These are the last people doing this, and that's because they told everyone that this is amazing and true. Just defining that made a huge difference. Your quest. I love the quest. It's my favorite thing to do with my clients, but movies work on the quest. We follow Frodo through 3 films, 9 hours, because we want to see the ring destroyed. And that's why the quest works. Because we, the audience, want to see it happen. It's why we sit through movies all the way to the end, shitty films, and go, why did I waste 3 hours of my life on that rubbish? It's because we stay there and wait till it's happened. And then we go, okay, it's genius. So for my clients, I create a quest that their customers want to see happen. And it's very powerful. This is the formula. What do you do, who do you do it for, and what value do you add to their lives? I'll leave it up for a bit. Because I can tell you, when you take this back to your business, it's such a simple way to create a powerful message. So this is how the movies use it. What do you do? Save, fulfill, restore, find. Who for? Middle Earth, the galaxy, new friends, girls, Nemo. What value do you add to their lives? Save Middle Earth by destroying the One Ring. Save the galaxy by defeating the evil empire. Fulfill new friends' wishes and return home. Restore girls' boundary between perfection and reality. And find Nemo. Sometimes what you do and who you do it for is the value you add to their life. I'm going to give you an example. Ultimate Finance is a funder here in the UK for small to medium businesses. And when we got to do the quest, when I started working with them, they were number 3. And when we got to the quest, they said, Greg, we don't need to do this because we've spent 6 months doing it and we're pretty happy with it, so we can just move on. I said, great, what is it? And it was to be the number 1 independent funder for small to medium businesses in the UK. And I went, that is terrible. And they were so upset. And they said, why? And I said, well, there's nothing wrong wanting to be number 1 in a business sense. But who are you doing it for? Making Ultimate Finance. You're doing it for yourself. And the value you want to add to your life is to be number 1? They went, yeah. I went, who's your audience? Business owners who want funding. They're in a world of financial pain. They can't sleep at night and they come to you and you say you want to be number 1. I went, you're going to become number 10. And they went, oh, we get it. So we used the Quest formula to relieving business owners from the pressures they're under. If you're a business owner who can't sleep at night and you come to them and say, we're going to relieve you from the pressures they're under, you go, thank you very much. Within 6 months, they went from number 3 to become the number 1 independent funder for small to medium businesses in the UK, because that's what they told them. And I'll show you the beauty of the Quest formula. I just a few months ago in Australia did a funder for small to medium businesses called On Deck, and they have this thing called lightning loans. And we use the Finding Nemo method here of fast-tracking businesses. Same business, pretty same offering, but you can see completely different quest. But for both, their audiences want to see that achieved. These are ones I've done for home loans, freeing borrowers from the mortgage handcuffs, ethical investing, creating a world that's better off, experiential tourism, showing people where unforgettable lives, for a bra, giving women a second skin they feel good in, palliative care, ensuring people have the best death possible, university, furthering humanity, and a fun celebrant, giving modern couples the best fucking day of their lives. If you think about each of those audiences, they want to see that achieved. It's so powerful. And you can see it said in very everyday language that's easy to understand. We don't explain how we do it. We just go, do you want that? And everyone goes, hell yeah. Internally, that's your quest. And Ultimate Finance said, that is such a great way to us to make decisions, because when we had to make a decision and said, will this make us number 1? Who knows? Will this relieve business owners from the pressures under that? Yes. Or no. If it's no, we don't do it. So if you continually make decisions in the business to make the quest come true, it's really powerful. And then externally, you just remove the audience from it because you're talking to them. And we said our good funding relieves you from the pressures you're under. Last one, love story. I call it the love story because when you hear it, your audience will fall in love with you. And that's because it's a classic movie structure of a beginning, a middle, and an end. A problem, solution, and end with the greatest love and a moral to the story. But this first one is the biggest difference for you. Brands will never talk about anything negative or bad. And it's powerful because if you don't have tension, you can't have a happy ending. No, movies would be the most dull movies of all time. if they didn't have tension. So here's an example, 1907 water. They wanted to get into Whole Foods in America. 3 years in a row, they told these proof points. We're from pure New Zealand, and Whole Foods said, we've got 3 of those. We're from an ancient artesian source. They said, we've got 10 of those. We're naturally alkaline water. We've got 10 of those, and we're healthy and great tasting. They went, all water's healthy and great tasting, and you're more expensive than everyone. Get out of here. If you look at that, they're amazing proof points. But when you lead with proof points, people will come back with, no, I don't need that. So 4 strikes you're out at Whole Foods, you can never come back again. And they came to me and said, Greg, we need to tell a different story. They said, who's your audience? Health-conscious consumers. What's their greatest tension in life? And Dion, the owner, said, they don't have enough naturally pure New Zealand water from an ancient artesian source in their life. Okay, that's the story you want to tell. What's the one your audience wants to hear? If they're health conscious, they're middle class or wealthy, so their lives are busier and getting busier. I said, great, how do you solve that? He said, I don't know, Greg, seriously? For hundreds of years, this thing's been rising to the surface, and we put a bottle in and we put a cap on and we do fuck all. And I went, great. Their lives are busier and getting busier, and you're the simplest thing in the world. So it led to this story. Now more than ever, we crave the uncomplicated, the unadorned and untainted. 1907 water is nature's remedy for the modern world. From an ancient artesian source in New Zealand, naturally alkaline water continually rises to the surface to rebalance and replenish our bodies from daily stresses. All we do to this constant gift from nature is bottle it. Isn't that refreshing? Beginning, middle and end, tension, solving, problem, solution, happy ending with a moral to the story. Whole Foods signed them up nationally. Dion fell off his chair and said, why this year? And they pointed to this and said, you understand our customer. They achieved their dream of getting into Whole Foods, and they far exceeded it. They're now in Von, Ralph's, Trader Joe's, Erewhon, all across America. They have made millions and millions of dollars from that story. The love story works because we start with your audience's greatest tension, and it's something in marketing you don't normally do. I'm running out of time, so I'm not going to talk about that one. That's just 3 of the formulas, storytelling formulas that I use, and you can see how it's not just talk. There's actual formulas to get you to put yourself in the eyes of the customer. So these are all the outputs. That's what I do in 4 days for my clients. That was for Hyperloop. And it's very, very powerful. I'll just tell you a few other things I'm doing. Foretold is a way to innovate, not just for what the business wants, but for what customers want. And I've worked with an incredible company here called Bolt AI. I don't know if you've heard of them, but they're an AI research company. And I innovate with clients, and we brainstorm, and each night we put into research the ideas we've had that day, and consumers tell us, the next day we get the results, what they liked, what they didn't, and we go again, and within a week we have a new business or a new product that the business can go ahead and design to, knowing that it's going to succeed. I created tone of voice, a unique tone of voice for my clients so they don't conform to conventions of the category. And quite often they come back to me and say, Greg, we're not as good as you writing it. Can you write it? I've found a way to train AI to write at least 8 out of 10 the tone of voice. So I'm now creating an AI tool called Ghostwriter for my clients so everyone in the business can put their inputs into my formulas, and then AI will write it in the unique tone of voice. In June, I'm releasing a book, Creating a Blockbuster Brand, where I take everything that I do, and small businesses can do it themselves. And if you want to know more, Kez is in the networking area under that banner. You can go say hi. And I hope you learned something and excited about storytelling for your brand.